This is SSLFamilyDad with Simple Suburban Living, and today we're going to go over some of the things that I'm doing in the aquaponics system here to kind of focus on production. So focusing on is producing as much food as possible. Hopefully this episode won't be too confusing. I do have some older video that I'm going to be kind of throwing in here and combining with the newer video from today, just to kind of show you some of the things that I've been doing along the way. I've been working on changing the system and updating things and trying to improve efficiency over the last couple weeks. And I've kind of cleaned house, so I've taken all the old growth out just about, and over the past month or two I've got all new plants put in. And so I'm going to kind of go over each grow bed and talk a little bit about what I chose to grow and why, and just kind of go through some of those things here with you, and also go through some of the additions and changes that I've made to each grow bed to kind of improve lighting and all that kind of stuff. So I'll start with the first grow bed here and then we'll check out what we've got going on there. Okay, so this is grow bed number 1, and what we used to have growing in here was a couple celery plants, some Swiss chard, rosemary, dill, and some chives. Just kind of a random assortment of things that got put over here, and things we'd planted many months ago. We really weren't using too much of what was growing in here. We weren't using the rosemary because it wasn't that big and we hadn't harvested anything off of it. We weren't really using the chives. We didn't really use the dill anymore because we already used it for our pickles that we made months ago, and we're not going to use that throughout the winter. The Swiss chard, we used for salads and stuff here time to time. And the celery was such a very strong flavored. It was a very, very strong celery flavor. It was good, but really only good for cooking. So we decided not to grow that in here. And I'll actually show you a quick clip of me pulling that celery out. It was growing very well. Well, we're getting some of the old stuff torn out here and getting ready for our new production, and I had to share this. I've never seen roots. This is a celery plant. I have never seen roots like this before. Look at that. I can't even get far enough away. Look at that ball of roots. Beautiful. So that celery was growing really well. It had some big old roots on it, which is pretty cool. But what we decided to do in this grow bed is we're going to focus this whole entire thing on spinach, and the number one reason why we're doing that is because my wife really wanted it. She eats a lot of spinach, and would really like to be able to come down and get some fresh organic spinach right out of the aquaponics system. So that's the number one reason why we're doing that here. Any leafy greens also are good to grow in here because if you don't buy it organic, they are one of those vegetables that end up getting a lot of pesticides and other chemicals sprayed on them, and things like that, especially when you're buying them in the winter and you live in northern states. They have to be transported and they need to be kept fresh and all that stuff. So growing those organically and throughout the winter here indoors is going to be good. I have 7 spinach plants growing in here right now, and this is all going to be a 6500 Kelvin lights in here, so we've got the full leafy green growth going on. We're hopefully going to be able to pump out as much spinach as possible, maybe freeze some if we have some extra, or at least be able to come down and harvest it every day if we want to. So the cooler container you see here in the front is I'm actually trying to sprout a few more bean plants, and so I've just got some seedlings in there waiting to sprout up. So okay, so this is grow bed number 2, and this is one that I actually went over in the overwintering plants video. These are all pepper plants, different varieties of bell pepper, and a little that rosemary that was in the other one. My wife just wanted to keep this sucker in here and let it grow. It was doing so well, so I put it in the front of this bed so it won't be in the way. But I've got all the bell peppers in here. I've got 6 bell pepper plants in here, and we're gonna, again, this is one of those things that we really want to focus on growing because we use a lot of bell peppers. We use a lot of green peppers and chilies and lasagnas and all kinds of other things. Salads, we eat them fresh, we eat them cooked, we do all kinds of different stuff with them. We're constantly buying them. This is also, I believe, one of the top 5 items that they recommend you buy organically because they have a ton of chemicals on them. Unless you, of course, buy it organically, which, again, you pay a premium for. So this is one of those things we wanted to have fresh, and be able to just come down and grab a bell pepper whenever we need to use them. So we're trying to get as much production out of this grow bed as possible. This bed will have a mixture of 6500 Kelvin and 2700 Kelvin lights, which will give us a leafy green growth and also induce that flowering in the plants. So that's what we're kind of have going on here. Okay, so this is grow bed number 3, and this one isn't quite planted out 100% yet. I'm actually going to put a few more bean plants in here, but I've got these bush beans, which we've had very, very good success with, and they are absolutely delicious. These are great to grow in the aquaponics system. So I've got 3 of those growing in here. These are only 2 weeks old. They're already huge. These things just grow absolutely. The fastest growing plant we've ever put in the aquaponics system is these bush beans. They grow. You can almost watch them grow. They grow so quickly, and they produce like crazy. So I've got at least 2 or 3 more of these to plant in the open areas that I have in this grow bed. Got a spot here and a spot here, and I may end up taking that bell pepper out in the back. I'm not sure. Looks like it's got some new growth on it, but in the back there I've got 2 bell peppers. These are the original 2 that I planted when I started the system, and they've been moved around and all over the place. They're very stunted right now. This is about the 4th or 5th time I've moved these things. But they're still growing well, and they've got a lot of new growth on them, and I think the roots are kicking now, and they're going to start producing again for us. This one has a couple decently sized little bell peppers growing on it already, and it'll start flowering again soon, I'm sure, as well. So reason, again, bell peppers we really wanted to focus on because those are something that our family uses a lot, and also one of the recommended organic vegetables. The beans we wanted to grow mainly because they grow so quick and they produce so much. Green beans are, again, something we eat a lot of, and if we can produce a bunch of these, then we'll be able to freeze some, can some, and use them fresh. So that's the idea here. So we're going to hopefully get a couple more of these growing. Okay, this is grow bed number 4, the last one, and actually this one is going to be full of tomatoes. This used to have our kale and our celery in here. Again, same reason we're getting rid of the celery as I talked about earlier. The kale, I really had a hard time with that. The kale was beautiful, delicious, grew very well in here. It was huge. We could come down and harvest it just about as much as we wanted to, and we had plenty of it. We made kale chips and throws it in salads and everything else. I really had a hard time deciding to take that out, but I really wanted to try these tomatoes. These are a dwarf variety of Roma tomato. I have 5 of them in here. I'm going to have a 6th, and I'll take you in and show you how I'm trying to sprout an extra seed here for that one. But the idea here is, again, these are dwarf tomato plants, so hopefully they won't overtake my system like the full-size ones have in the past. And again, tomatoes are one of those things that we eat a lot of, and they're very easy to can. There's so many uses for tomatoes, so I'm hoping that these are good producers for us. This is kind of an experiment. If they're not, then I may tear this all out and put kale back in, because kale was pretty good. So again, dwarf Roma tomatoes is what we have in here. This is going to be a mixture of 6500 Kelvin and 2700 Kelvin lights, again, because these are flowering, fruiting plants. And so we're going to hopefully kick those into gear here with the flowering bulbs as soon as they get, to a decent height and start to get settled into the system. So, okay, so if you've watched my previous couple videos here, you'll notice I've got a lot of this shiny stuff up in the aquaponics system. I put it on the front of these lights to try to get some reflect the light back into the grow bed, and it's also a little easier on the eyes since it's not blinding you. And I've also put it up on the ends, both ends of the whole system, and on the back of the whole system. So just want to get as much of that light reflected back into the plants as possible. What I'm using here is just these emergency blankets, and I think I got a pack of 10 of these, I believe it was, for $6 on Amazon, and I'll put a link to that in the description if you want to grab some of these. But they're just emergency blankets. You can get them anywhere, and they're very reflective, and they're also kind of see-through, so you can still kind of see into the grow beds from all sides, which I kind of like. So it doesn't look as nice as I had hoped, but it serves a very important function. And I noticed that a lot of the growth, as it gets taller, some of the branches in the back and the bottom, they aren't getting enough light, and so I'm hoping that this will help remedy that. I'll take you in and show you a couple of the other things that I've done as well. Okay, so if you really paid attention to the last many videos I've done, you may have noticed that I didn't have these supports on the end of the system, this end of the system and the far end of the system. So I mimicked what I had set up in the center, and I put a new support wall up on the very end of the system. And I had done a video on this earlier, but what I did was on these 2x4s, I drilled a bunch of holes in here, and I'm just using these 1/4-inch dowels. I just broke a bunch of various size pieces off. And as the plants grow up tall enough, you just kind of stick the dowels in here and they will help support the plants. And so you can go all the way up to the top here and hang a string from it if you need to or whatever. So if they really get heavy with tomatoes or the pepper plants specifically, I can use this support system to help support those plants. And if the dowels aren't strong enough, I can always drill bigger holes and put bigger dowels. But these have been working pretty good to just give the plants a little bit of extra support. Okay, so one of the last things that I did was I went and I widened all of these lights up. So I had them about 18 inches, and they weren't quite, getting all the way to the side of each one of these grow beds. And so I just widened the lights up as much as I possibly could by just adjusting the bolts here on the threaded rod on each side, just to kind of spread the light out a little bit, so that I get, as much light reflected down into the bed and covers the whole grow bed a little bit better. So I'm really trying to make the most out of these lights and make these as efficient as I possibly can. The reflective material really has been working great. I mean, I can already tell a difference in the kale and celery that I had implanted in here earlier. This is really going to help make the most out of these lights. Alright, well that pretty much wraps it up. Just some of the things that we've been doing over the past few weeks to really focus the system on efficiency and production. And I'm really hoping to see the rewards of this new kind of change in the system. We've gone down from 12 to 13 crops that we used to have in here down to 4 to 5. And so we're really making a big effort to focus on growing as much food as possible. Down the road, once I get things really producing here, I'm going to do a cost analysis and talk a little bit more about, how much is the food worth that we're producing on a monthly basis versus buying organic food in the store. Are we saving money? Are we, what's the deal with that? I'm also going to be throwing some fish into the mix here soon, some edible fish, adding another fish tank, getting into maybe tilapia or perch, and so then we'll get the rewards of having some fresh fish as well. So this is going to be an exciting winter, an exciting few months ahead of us. I'm really looking forward to it. So if you guys have questions or suggestions or anything like that, please throw them in the comment section. I'd love to hear them. Hit thumbs up on the video if you found it informational. Hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. I'd love to have you tag along and just kind of check out the system as it progresses. Check out some of the other videos we have. The chickens, we'll be doing updates on those. I've got all kinds of other sustainable projects and other things planned, how-tos and DIY stuff, so subscribe if you haven't already. Other than that, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch today. Have a good one.